World of Warcraft's player housing announcement is huge. There's no denying that. This is something the community has been asking for quite a while, and Blizzard finally delivering feels like a big win. But as exciting as it is, I can't help but have some concerns. Not because I want to be negative, but because I think there are real questions that need to be answered before we start celebrating. Hey everybody, Nothix here, and today we're diving into WoW's player housing feature. There's a lot of hype around this, and don't get me wrong, I think it's a big deal. But I also think there's some concerns that need to be addressed before we get carried away. First, let's acknowledge what's exciting here. Player housing isn't locked behind some ridiculous cost. It's not first come, first serve, and it's tied to your entire warband. And that last part is great because it means there's no faction restrictions. Plus, Blizzard says they're thinking long term, so this system won't be abandoned like the Garrisons were. All of that sounds fantastic, but let's talk about what's not clear yet. Blizzard has emphasized that housing is all about player expression, which is great, but is that all it's going to be? If it's going to be purely cosmetic, is it going to have enough depth to keep the players engaged beyond the initial excitement? At best, it'll be a nice little collection feature, but I'm just not that into making and decorating a house. As a collector and a completionist, I feel like it'll be something that I feel obligated to interact with, but it might be the first part of WoW that I just don't do. I really got into collecting in WoW with the Brutosaur and other mounts. Then moved on to achievements, pets, transmog, and eventually everything in the game. I still have a lot of collection left to do, but I've managed to hit the top 2,000 in the world on data for Azeroth. But if player housing isn't enjoyable to me, I just won't do it. Blizzard has said that housing will be primarily earned through gameplay. But let's be real, the WoW shop exists. Will Blizzard resist the urge to flood the shop with exclusive furniture? Housing could become a massive cash cow if they lock the best customizations behind microtransactions. If that happens, housing could feel less like a reward and more like a money sink. WoW has so many different races and cultures. Will that be reflected in housing options? Will an orc's home look and feel widely different than a night elf's house? Or are we all going to be living in the same two generic houses, just with different wallpaper? My real problem with player housing is the time and focus it takes away from core gameplay systems. My love for World of Warcraft stems from Mythic Plus dungeons and Mythic raiding, but any time spent on player housing is time that's not spent on dungeons and raids. We've seen it before with Warlords of Draenor, with an entire raid tier getting cut because of the time and energy Garrisons took. I don't have any reason to believe there are going to be shortcomings with dungeons and raids. That content has been great for the last few expansions, but I just can't help but think more could be done with that development time. Can we get back to 10 dungeons per season instead of the 8 that we've been having? Could we get back to raids with 10 bosses instead of 8? Could new Mythic Plus affixes and design changes be cooked up? Could we get additional classes, specs, or even hero talents? I'm happy that people are excited about player housing, but that just ain't for me. Excitement without a little bit of skepticism is how we end up with features that fade into irrelevance. If Blizzard gets this right, deep customization, personal expression, and no over-reliance on the cash shop, then housing could be one of the best systems added to WoW in years. But if it's just another shallow system that looks good on paper but lacks substance, well, we've seen that before. What do you think? Is player housing going to be the next big thing for WoW, or do you have some concerns too? Let me know in the comments.